Hi, everyone, and welcome to Mike Talks Cars, Ask the Trainer. This is the premiere episode of this new live stream. The reason that I'm doing this live stream is because of what happens to me when I'm out talking with people in the world and they find out what it is that I have done for a living for most of my life. They ask me questions. I have been a trainer for more than 30 years, and I spent 15 years inside the dealerships and have worked in virtually every position in the front end of the dealership except the dealers. I'm a former general manager. Now, I can tell you that the questions that I get really matter to me because it shows me what people think. It shows me how concerned they are. In fact, did you know that most people that buy a car feel like they overpaid for it? We're going to spend a little time today, and I'm going to fix some of that, okay? So I'm going to be breaking down dealership pricing. I'm going to talk about negotiation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about trade-in, how to make sure that you get the best value for your trade-in. And I think that that's a pretty good reason to stick around and to participate in today's program. Do me a favor. If you can, put a thumbs up in the comments if you have ever wondered if you paid too much for a vehicle, okay? It'd be kind of interesting to see the stats. Now, in addition to that, I would also like to hear from you as to what's your greatest fear when it comes to buying a vehicle? What is it that makes it hard for you to walk onto a dealership? Those are things that I think are extremely valuable, both for car buyers and for sales consultants who might be working with those car buyers. That's what we're going to pay attention to today. Okay, some of the key takeaways that I want for you today. The first is to understand how pricing works as far as a dealership is concerned. I'm going to switch things up here for just a minute, and we're going to drop into a different screen for this particular discussion. When we talk about dealership pricing has a few elements to it, okay? Things that you might run into as you walk into a dealership. Specifically, a new vehicle. If you're shopping for a new vehicle, you may discover that in the window of that new vehicle, there are a number of different prices, and it can be confusing to know what is there. The first thing that you will see is called MSRP. The MSRP is the manufacturer's price for that vehicle. The manufacturer places a suggested retail price on every vehicle, and it's been a requirement in the United States for a fairly long time to have that MSRP sticker there. On it, you will find all of the equipment that is on the vehicle from the factory. You'll also find the shipping charges, etc. That it's all outlined there, and then a bottom line price as far as the MSRP is concerned. There are other things that you might see in that window depending on where you are in North America. If you are walking in the United States, you might also see an addendum, and it will have some add-ons on there, things that maybe the dealership has added onto the vehicle and then put the price in the window. So it's there. And some of the things that you might find there would be things like maybe a warranty, an extra warranty that wraps around the manufacturer's warranty. You might also find things like window tinting. You might find things like locking wheels or wheel locks for the wheels. You might find any number of things, undercoating, paint protection, etc. Those things show up as add-ons that might be there. The last one is one that seems to have been a bit of a phenomena at different times in the automotive industry's history. They've, I don't know any other way to put it than this is additional markup. And I don't spell nearly as well as I should. Additional markup. This is something that is, it's dealer profit. That's what that is. And the reason that it's there is for vehicles that might be hard to get, that they have a real cachet to them. Perhaps if you walked into a Ford store, for example, and you were looking at a Mustang GT fully loaded with all the toys, you might find an additional markup on that particular vehicle over and above the MSRP. Make no mistake, this is the dealer asking for more money than the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And frankly, many people feel like that is a real negative. And in fact, it is a negative in many respects. But for many car buyers out there, they would look at that and they would say, that's worth it to me to have that vehicle right now. And that's why that actually exists. So when you first walk into a dealership and you check out the window sticker on that vehicle you've been researching and you're going through it all, make sure that you make note of everything that is listed there. Now, it is possible that the add-ons that are listed on the window might not yet be put on the vehicle, so make sure that you ask about that. If they have to, for instance, do a paint treatment and undercoating on it, or do the window tinting or whatever. Remember that a warranty is a click in the computer. So if you don't really want that wraparound warranty, then you can request that that be removed. Now, the reality is that dealerships don't really make their money on the MSRP cost of a new vehicle when they're offering it for sale. So as a car buyer, you need to be aware of the different sources, if you will, of income for that dealership. One, of course, is markup on the vehicle. Okay, vehicle markup is one of the things, one of the places where they make their money. There is a difference between the MSRP and the invoice cost of that vehicle to the dealership. And that markup is generally what we think of as the profit for the dealership. But the other sources of income for them are add-ons. And there is markup on each of those add-ons. There is also income to be made in financing the vehicle. And when you think about that, that is one of the key elements that you as a car buyer are going to be paying. You need to make sure that you understand the financing aspects of your new vehicle very, very well. So, financing is a spot there. Warranty, selling extended warranties, is also another source where they make their money. It is possible, quite possible, for these elements right here to add up to significantly more money than the vehicle markup itself. So be aware of where the opportunities are for that markup. And remember that as you negotiate your price or as you evaluate what you're being offered, you need to take all of those things into account. Now, if I am a sales consultant and I'm speaking with a car buyer about what's there, it is in my best interest as a sales consultant to be extremely transparent. If I'm not transparent, the car buyer tends to sense that. They tend to understand that maybe I'm just trying to get as much out of this process as I possibly can, rather than being concerned with that car buyer's needs. So as a sales consultant, make sure that you are paying attention to your car buyer, the person that is standing in front of you, and what they need. Now, one of the things that you do need to be very careful of is any hidden add-ons. So as you look at prices, make sure you're writing down things like MSRP, any other add-ons, things that you might find on the window, and keep track of the out-the-door price that you are working towards with your sales consultant. So it's an important thing to be aware of hidden add-ons. Now, if you're in Canada, most provinces have laws in place that require the dealership to disclose everything, including any dealership fees, such as paperwork fees or the documentation fee. That's the term that I was looking for there and couldn't find in my mind for a moment. The document fees can sometimes be quite interesting. In fact, for you watching today, think about this. What's the biggest documentation fee that you've ever come across? Jot that down in the comments section. That could be quite an interesting discussion as well as we go along. Okay. Let's take a look at the next element that we're going to talk about here today, and that is negotiation. When we talk about negotiation, the key to being successful here is simply to know your numbers. If you know your numbers, as you walk into the dealership, what you will discover is that the process is a lot easier. There's an awful lot of good that comes out of that. The numbers that you need to know before you walk into the dealership is, number one, your budget. Okay, so number one, you need to know what your budget is. Ooh, I'm bad at printing there. When I talk about budget, I'm talking about, of course, monthly payment, because that tends to be what everyone relates to their car purchase. But you have to be very careful with your budget, your monthly payment element, because it is really possible for you to walk in and say, I need this type of a vehicle, I need a mid-size SUV, and I need to be out the door for $600 a month, okay? And it's a very simple thing for a sales consultant and manager to take that $600 a month and point you to a vehicle and then backfill everything else in on top of that. Now, some car buyers don't care that all they care about is, this is my number, I need to get this done, and I need to get out the door. But ultimately, it affects the resale value of your vehicle. It affects how much you pay over time. There's a lot of benefit to actually knowing your numbers. And your budget, you need to understand exactly what it is and how it works. Because remember, you don't just have inside your budget your car payment. You have your down payment, and you have insurance that has to be taken into account, and you have maintenance that has to be taken into account. And if you have worked that out in advance over time, the likelihood is that what you're looking for in a car payment, you understand that you can't stretch beyond that based on what your desires are for your ownership experience. In addition to that, number two element is that you should be fully aware of what you can get for an interest rate. Interest rate becomes very, very important in this process. Now, sometimes dealerships are offering manufacturer interest rates, and we've seen 0.99, 1.99, 2.99, things like that going on out there at a time when the average interest rate for a used vehicle, for example, is like 9%, 8.5%. So it really matters that you know what interest rate you qualify for, and you need to be certain that you understand exactly what the interest rate is on the payment that they are offering. So your interest rate is another part of the numbers that you need to know. And number 3 is the general cost of the vehicle. If you've done a little research in advance, then you probably know what the general MSRP of a vehicle equipped, kind of like what you are hoping to purchase, is. And if you know that in advance, it certainly helps as you are presented vehicles, as you see what's on the lot that you could make a decision from. So knowing your numbers is a critical part of making sure that you get what you need out of this process. The next thing that you need to make sure from a negotiation perspective is always, and I mean always, negotiate the out-the-door price. Don't negotiate payment. Always negotiate the out-the-door price. The better job you do on that, of course, your payment is going to be lower. And if they're talking with you about extended warranties, if they're talking with you about maintenance programs, if they're talking with you about additional add-ons, things like that, then you want to make sure that you have negotiated each one of those prices into their very best spot. And then by applying simply the interest and the term, you come up with your best payment. Always negotiate the out-the-door price. That's a critical part of this process. The other thing that you want to make sure you do when we talk about negotiation is that you control the conversation. Controlling the conversation simply comes down to this, and I will tell you this from having negotiated, more car deals in the years that I was in the dealerships than you can shake a stick at. I can tell you flat out that the person who cares the least about this deal wins, okay? In other words, if you find yourself getting excited and invested in the deal, in buying that vehicle and taking that vehicle home, and yes, I can get qualified, and yes, this is going to work, and yes, I can kind of get to that payment. If I stretch and I think about it, yeah, I'll have a couple cups of coffee less per week. All those things can motivate you to really start caring and investing in that deal. One of the greatest things in negotiation is not caring that much. Recognizing that if you walk away from that dealership, someone else has a vehicle that will do the job for you for the price that you need that vehicle to be just down the road or later. So you can never be afraid to walk away from the deal. This is something that from a dealership perspective, they really don't want you to walk away. They would like you to take care of buying that vehicle right now. And when we understand that the whole buy now urgency kind of situation, oh, this interest rate is only going to last until 5 o'clock tonight or whatever, by adding urgency, they tend to create a caring in the buyer. From a sales consultant perspective, The most effective deals, those with customers who will come back and purchase from you time after time after time in the future, are those customers whom you respected their choices, whom you stepped in and were a real value-added part of the entire process for them. And the better job that you did at working the house on their behalf, the better job that you did at presenting all of the choices and allowing your customers to make a decision, then the more likely it is that that customer is going to come back over and over and over again. So when we're talking about negotiation, for most car buyers, when you're at the dealership, you're not going to feel like you're very much in control. Would like you to make sure that you take just a moment and check yourself, check your emotions at the door so that you can, in fact, negotiate in a very fair way with the dealership themselves. What I mean by that is that you are willing to walk away no matter what the offer is. Sometimes it really does help to just sleep on it. You'd also might be amazed, but often a phone call about 15 minutes after you leave the dealership is a little better deal than the one that you had when you walked away the first time. Just a little hint there, okay? Funny how that goes. Now, maybe you can share with me, what's the worst car buying experience that you have had? And we'll take a minute and we'll talk about that if we have one pop up here that we can discuss. All right. Let's take just a brief moment now and let's talk a little bit more about what is going on with the whole negotiation aspect of it. When we talk about purchasing, I've been talking solely about dealership, walking into a dealership and purchasing either a new or a used vehicle from a sales consultant at a franchise dealer or a used vehicle dealer. What about if you're buying privately? These same principles apply. You need to know and be aware of exactly what you can afford. You need to make sure that your budget is well met and that you have your best negotiation skills on when you approach that private buyer or that private seller. That's what I meant by that. Now, when you see a vehicle for sale privately, often the motivation is that there is no added tax, whether state or GST in Canada or whatever it is. And many people feel that will give them a better overall deal. Well, you have to make sure that you know your numbers and that you've asked yourself the appropriate questions. One of the things that I have done is I built a little checklist, which is available on Gumroad right now. It is called the Ultimate Car Buyer's Checklist. And the Ultimate Car Buyer's Checklist gives you a point-by-point walkthrough on how you prepare to buy a new vehicle. Well, new to you, whatever your choice and decision is as far as new or used. And that might be something that you find is extremely helpful for you. So you might consider taking a look at that. I will be putting a link in the comment section of this video that will allow you to pop over, take a look at that, and decide if that's something that you would like to have. Okay, the last portion of this live stream today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about trade-ins. There are some secrets about how you trade in a vehicle. The first and foremost secret is that you need to make sure that you, and I think you probably will have guessed what it is that I'm going to say, that you know the numbers. There are a number of places that you can go to be able to check the value of the vehicle that you're driving today. One of them is the NADA book or website down in the United States, or up in Canada, you would use the Canadian Black Book. That's a helpful thing because it takes into account the condition of the vehicle, the general condition of the vehicle. And part of knowing your numbers is that you need to be brutally honest about the condition that your vehicle is in. Has it been serviced regularly? Is there door scuffs on it from parking lots over at Costco? Are the tires worn? Is the windshield in good condition? All of those things. Is it running really well? You have to ask yourself the question, what's it really worth? What condition is it actually in? And then you can figure out basically what the value of that vehicle is. Remember, the vehicle that the dealership is offering you has a cash value. Your trade-in also has a cash value. And understanding that cash value can be very, very powerful. Other sources of information are to go and take a look at some of the car magazines like Car Gurus or Car Traders, Auto Trader, in other words. If you go take a look at Auto Trader, you can see what people are offering their vehicles for sale for. And if you do a little research, you can find out what they are actually selling for. And that will give you a great idea as far as what you could get for your vehicle if you sold it privately. However, if you live in a state or in a province where there is a sales tax, then trading your vehicle in can actually be a better deal for you because it negates some of the tax that goes along with the new vehicle as you purchase it. And lowering those fees is always a really good idea. Right now, today, one of the realities in the know your numbers end of things is that good used cars are not easy to find. Many customers, many car buyers are holding on to their vehicles for a longer period of time. One of the numbers that I saw recently is that instead of the traditional, like prior to 2019, 8.5 year age of vehicles out on the road, we are now approaching 12.5 years worth of age on the average vehicle on the road today. So people are hanging on to their vehicles longer. And that means that dealerships are very interested in paying, well, top dollar for a good used car. And so don't underestimate that fact. Many people believe that selling it privately and then going and negotiating for that next new vehicle will give them a better deal. But remember, the cash value on your vehicle versus the cash value on theirs, plus their markup, gives them a reasonable deal. But if they've got your used car, that also means that they're going to have an opportunity to recondition that used car and make an additional profit on that one. Maybe they'll trade another vehicle for that vehicle, and the chain continues until they hit the point which dealerships call washout, which is the last vehicle in that purchase chain is sold. So there's benefits for the dealership to step up and pay for that vehicle. Now, they may, if you don't know your numbers, they may work those numbers in their favor, of course, but a smart dealership is out there today actually bidding for that vehicle, knowing that you can take it down the street and someone else will give you a higher price than the one that they just gave you, unless they step right up and make sure that they've given you all the money for that used vehicle. So from a trade-in perspective, know your numbers. A little bit of research goes a very long way towards success. Okay? Now, the other key thing is Don't worry about taking your vehicle and running it through a detail. No reason to spend $300-$400 on a detail for the vehicle that you're going to trade in, because the dealership will have their own ideas as how they are going to recondition that vehicle, and virtually every vehicle is going to go through a full detail. You're not going to meet very many used car managers that can't see past the crack in the windshield or a little bit of dust on the paint. They can see what it is that the vehicle is, and they understand the value of it very, very well. So know your numbers. If you do that and you do it well, you will have very few problems with your trade-in. The additional element that goes along with trade-ins is don't be in love with the iron. Okay? That may be a statement that you have never heard before, but, well, how many of you have named your car? Okay? Many people, my own daughters, name their cars. And those names mean that they have, well, fallen in love with the iron. They are part of the family. And we have to be very careful that we can disassociate ourselves from our trade-in. Recognize that we're going to have a new member of the family. Someone different is going to be a part of this whole process. And if we are not in love with the iron, then we can make rational decisions about how to go about trading that vehicle in. So those are things that are very powerful from a trade-in perspective. Don't forget to use your resources. And here again, this is someplace else that checklist that I spoke about a little earlier can come in really, really handy. Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you usually finance your vehicle through the dealership, or do you use a bank? You can put in B for bank in the comments, or you can put in D for dealership. Be very interesting to see exactly what ratio is as far as what the ratio is as far as bank versus dealership financing. Okay. Did you know that dealership financing is not always the very best deal for the individual? Remember that the finance office is going to make some money on that deal, and so they will get a bank rate or a credit union rate or some other finance company rate, and they will be marking that up a little bit in order to make some money. So make sure that you have, again, with financing, that you know the numbers, that you have done your due diligence, okay? If you can sense a theme about what we've been talking about today, it really is about knowing your numbers. It really is about making sure that you have done your homework. And by doing your homework, the very next opportunity that you have to buy a vehicle will be just that much smoother, okay? So here are 5 quick things that I hope you're taking away with you today, okay? Number 1, research. Plan ahead. Make sure you know exactly what you're going to do when you get to that dealership or deal with the party that is selling that vehicle. Number 2, get pre-approved for financing if you can. That really helps make sure that you are getting the kind of deal that you should be getting. Number 3, know your trade-in value. That's a huge help when you are involved in a negotiation. Number 4, always, and I mean always, negotiate an out-the-door price. Always negotiate the full price of any aspect of that purchase. And number 5, don't be in a hurry. Never be afraid to walk away from a deal. You will find that, again, as I said earlier,
it's the person who cares the least about this deal that will win. Okay? And those 5 elements all put together can really help you in your search for your next vehicle. Now, what about today's program did you find helpful? We would love it if you would drop a comment into the comments section for us. Let us know what we did well or where we might improve. We do want to know. And hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you would. That would be awesome. And don't forget, you can always share this video with someone who might be out shopping for a vehicle and that they might find a little benefit in it. We would appreciate that as well. In the meantime, my name is Mike Little, and, well, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.